This is Mona Bro's Beginner's Guide to Sea Fishing. Stay tuned for the giveaway.
Croeso nôl, welcome back to Mona Bros, or rather welcome to, if indeed you are a beginner to sea fishing off the shore in the UK. So this video in particular is going to go over the basics of what you might need to get yourself started in the fishing game. I'm going to go over the basics, what you're going to need in preparation. I'll try and quickly show you a very simple casting technique. I'll go over some of the baits that I tend to use and also try and give you an understanding of the locations you might be fishing from. So we'll get started with the basics, guys. So if you're starting your fishing journey, guys, you're going to need 4 things at a minimum: a rod, a reel, a rod stand, and something to carry them with. There are hundreds of combinations that you can put when it comes to a rod and reel, but I'm going to try and throw out 3 different combinations that you can potentially use: an entrance level, a mid-range, and a slightly more expensive setup. I'll go through them with you guys. I'll then try and go through the type of rod stands that are out there and some bags, but here are the rods and reels. So your first option, guys, that I'd recommend would be a Sonic SKS Black, which retails around £100. You can couple that with a Sonic Dominator XS 1000 Surf, and that retails around £65. You can go for the multiplier option, which I'd recommend Slosh SL30, and they retail around £90. So the option up from that, guys, is an Anyfish Anywhere 6 and bait, which retails at around £220, and I'd couple that with a Penn Surf Blaster 3. They retail around £124, and what's great about them, they come with a spare spool as well. But if you're going for the multiplier option, I'd probably head for a Penn Mag 525, and what's great about that is that as you're casting, you can alter the brakes using the Mag. Then you've got the third option, guys, which is a Century T1000 rod. They retail around £750, and you can couple that with a Penn Conflict 2 fixed spool reel, retail around £260. Very lightweight but quite powerful. But I tend to use the multiplier option, which I use a Daiwa Saltist 18 30H, and they retail around £230. Rod stands, guys. Now I'm using a Shakespeare Salt. Now the reason I like this particular rod stand is that I tend to fish quite a lot of rock marks, so the adjustable legs on these, you can adjust them so you can try and find a level for your rod stand, whereas with some of the others you might not get it. But this isn't the cheapest one out there, guys, but there are really good alternatives such as Ian Gold's, a cracking rod stand, but I do like this Shakespeare Salt. Rod cases, guys. Now I like to use this Sonic rod case because I think value for money, it is perfect. But if you don't want to be spending on a rod case to start off with, or if you've only got a single rod, perhaps straps such as Tronic straps might work perfectly well for you. But there are a lot of rod cases out there. Tronics make them, Daiwa, all sorts of different companies, but I swear by this Sonic rod case. Right, guys, now that you've selected your rod and reel, it's on to what you're going to put your gear in. You've got 2 options. Option 1, a rucksack, and option 2, a seat box. Both excellent options for shore fishing here in the UK. Both have got their pros and cons. Option 1, the rucksack, it's much lighter weight than the seat box. The only issue is when you're using this type of bag on a beach, the sand can get into the pockets, can be difficult to clean off, and you've got nothing to sit on. Pros of this, if you are fishing a beach mark, you get a seat. It's very big and you can store your stuff quite easily. You can buy attachments for it to make the storage a bit easier. I've bought an attachment so I can carry it with both straps over the shoulders, made by Breakaway. The only downside on this, it can feel quite cumbersome, especially if you're fishing on rock marks. So yeah, either or, guys, work well. whilst I'm discussing the boxes, guys, I am going to mention a baiting cooling box. It's ideal. You don't necessarily need it as a beginner, but if you do decide to purchase one, I'd highly recommend the Zebra Cool Box. I've bought 3 different cool boxes in the last year and a half now, and I wish I'd started with this one. Right guys, now we're going to go on to your terminal tackle, your bits and bobs. So I'm going to start off with fishing line, guys. Now I like to use the Vivara Sport £20 rated line, and I'll couple that with an ASOS Ultraflex shock leader. Now when it comes to the shock leader, it's all to do with your casting. So there is a rule of thumb that for every ounce of weight that you're casting out, you need £10 of shock leader. So if you're using a 5 ounce lead, you're going to need £50 shock leader. 7 ounce lead, £70. It's quite simple, guys. But I will be popping in and out of cam whilst I grab some bits and bobs that I need to show you that I think you're going to need as a beginner. Next up, guys, is all to do with your bait. So you're going to need either a filleting knife or baiting scissors. I tend to have both because I like to fillet up my bait first and then trim any excess off using the bait scissors, so I've got a nice presentable bait. It's not important, guys, to be ultra presentable, but I think it helps. It might not, but personal opinion, I think it's important to have a well presented bait. I tend to use this elastic just to get it nice and tight around the hook, and then I'll trim it off using my scissors. But either or works, guys. You don't need to be spending. These are only cheap scissors, and the knife was under £15, I think. Up next is your weights or your sinkers, guys. Now I'll only use 2 types of weights, one being a gripper weight and the other being a diamond shaped weight. Now the difference in these, guys, is basically this one grips into the bed of the sea, be it sand, rock or whatever, whereas these will tend to roll a little bit and allow that bait to move around, especially on a beach mark where it's bouncing. Depends what kind of fishing you want to do, guys. Next thing you're going to need, guys, is something to get the hook out of a fish's mouth. Now I'll carry a disgorger with me and also a pair of pliers. It is important that as fishermen, when we do catch fish, if we're not taking it to plate, that we get that hook out as soon as we can and get that fish back in the water and back on its way. So very important set of tools to have with yourselves when you're out there fishing. Up next, guys, is your rig bodies, your traces. So you can purchase these from shops or you can make your own. Now as a beginner, I would recommend that you purchase some to start off with, because at the very worst, if you purchase a couple of different rigs, you can copy them in the future. Now there are 2 ways that you can hold these rigs when you take them out. You can get a rig carrier, but I like to use this to make pre-made shock leaders, so I'll carry 10 with me at all times, because I'm still quite old-fashioned, guys. I'm still using a trace wallet because I think this is the best way to keep them. I label them up, whether it's a pulley pennel rig or a 2-hook flapper, right down to my tope rigs and everything else in between. So I'll just quickly show you a couple of demonstrations of the rigs that you can be using. I'll put a couple of images up. The 2 best rigs out there for me personally, which is a pulley pennel rig and 2-hook flapper. And the last 2 things, guys, a reel case, because when you're chucking this into your carry bag or your box, whatever you've selected, your reel can get knocked around a little bit, so it just gives that added bit of protection. And then a cap clamp if you decide you're going to be doing a bit of nighttime fishing. You don't necessarily need to be buying an expensive cap clamp to start off with. There are cap clamps there under £20 that you can go fishing easily for 4 hours without it failing on you, guys. But I would recommend getting 2 of them just in case that does happen. Plenty of baits you can use, guys, from sand eel, lugworm, squid, blueies, crab, all sorts. I could go on naming all sorts of different kinds of baits you can use. But as a beginner, keep it simple, guys. Mackerel and ragworm will get you plenty of species. Once you've got further into your fishing journey, then perhaps start using your sand eel, your blueies and your squid, because it can get quite expensive taking multiple baits out with you. But to start off with, try those 2 baits and you won't go far wrong. You'll often hear anglers talking about the tide, guys, and it's very important. During the day, there are 4 states of tide, one being high tide, another being low tide, a flooding tide and an ebbing tide, and they basically are what they say. A high tide means that the water will be at its highest level in terms of depth, low tide, lowest level in terms of depths, and a flooding tide is where the water's flooding back inland, and ebbing tide is where it's ebbing back out to sea. With regards to tides, guys, it's quite important because as that water movement's happening, a lot of bait gets churned up and the fish tend to feed during different times of the tides. You will tend to get used to knowing what tides to fish certain marks on, because everywhere's different. A lot of marks fish well where there's an ebbing tide, whereas others fish well with a flooding tide. If you need to check your tide, guys, you need to get hold of one of these, just a tide table, which you can get from any fishing shop. You can also check online. But when it comes to fishing on a beach mark, the tide becomes very important because, as I'll mention further along in another part of this video, you can get enveloped by a tide when you're fishing out on a beach mark. Casting, guys, you'll probably read up that there are loads of casting techniques out there, but keep it simple as a beginner, guys. Forget the laid back, forget the pendulum cast, keep it simple, go for an overhead thump. I'll go over that with you in a second now, guys. I've come down to the beach. I'm going to show you a very basic over the head cast. It's not the cast I'm currently using, and I don't tend to have my reel as high as I've got it today on my rod. I usually cast with the reel right at the bottom, but for this demonstration I'm just going to show you guys what I do as a beginner to get yourself started. So keep it simple, get your feet square to the sea, imagine the sea as a clock, so 12 o'clock is straight in front of you. You need to have your weight at about 6 or 7 o'clock, and then it's basically thump it over your head, and that's about it, guys. It's that simple. This is fishing location type 1, a man-made structure, so things like harbour walls, breakwaters, fishing docks and piers. Perfect for beginners because you've got a flat surface underfoot, so when you're casting you feel that you don't have to have your feet perfectly aligned, etc. So it's great for learning how to cast with your tackle on, which makes a big difference, because going in the field, like I've mentioned previously, to cast just a weight, it is much different to actually casting into sea with your bait and your hooks and everything else. So perfect for bringing kids, because you can take them onto the side of the harbour wall, fish for some mini species, and it can be a lot of fun. Fishing location number 2, guys, a beach mark, absolutely perfect for a beginner. Yet again, you're short-footed, easy to cast from, and you can catch all sorts of fish from bass to flounder and everything in between. A couple of downside of beach fishing is that you're constantly moving your gear up and down the beach as that tide's flooding or it's going back out. But footwear, you just need a pair of Wellingtons really, and as your fishing journey progresses, maybe then buy some chest waders if you want to do a bit of lure fishing from the beach. The only other thing I would mention on a beach that you need to be quite vigilant, if there are sandbanks on a particular beach, that water as it's flooding can envelop you and can become quite dangerous, so you need to keep an eye on your surroundings and just keep yourself safe. Fishing location type number 3, the rock mark, my absolute favourite, guys. It can be a little bit challenging as a beginner to try and go rock fishing, for the simple fact that when you're casting out, you've got uneven ground. It's quite dangerous with slips, trips and falls. So I would highly recommend that if you do attempt to go as a beginner to do a bit of rock fishing, that you do take an experienced angler out with you. If you're not able to do that, perhaps paying for a guide would be an option. Here on Anglesey, we've got an excellent guide called Tommy Joe. I'll put a link in the description below so you can see his socials and possibly book a day out with him. I'm not sure what the rates are, but I'm sure you could discuss that with him. Another thing about rock fishing is the type of species you can catch are multiple. There are absolutely hundreds of different fish that you can catch off the coastline, and you can catch something as small as a rock goby right up to a big taupe. So rock fishing for me is the best, but perhaps you should go with option 1 or 2 if you're starting out. Right guys, that brings to an end this particular video. Hopefully you enjoyed, hopefully you've learned something, but I've got one more bit of advice. just ask questions really. Any angler will give you advice on what to do in certain situations, what bait to use for certain fish, so just ask them the question. You can also ask your local fishing shops, usually very helpful. We're quite lucky here on Anglesey that we've got the Anglesey Bait Centre up in Beaumaris. Malk and all the other guys there are very knowledgeable when it comes to fishing, and he's always got cracking deals on there. So if you're in the area, it's well worth a visit. Because this is our beginner's guide to sea fishing, I have decided that we're going to give away just something little. So we're going to give away the reel that I mentioned at the start of the video, and also those traces that I showed, because I've had to buy them and I tend to make my own. So I thought I'll give them away. I'll give the reel away, and also some weights and a bit of line, just to get yourself started in the fishing game. All you need to do to win that, guys, is be subscribed, like this video, and comment below, and then hopefully someone will be getting the new reel. So whether you're a beginner or you're just a regular to the channel, it's open to everyone, guys. So yeah, as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Want to watch some more? Just click the link.